Good evening and welcome to TDOC Talks. My name is Alisha James and I am the Assistant Commissioner for Community Supervision. And tonight we have a very special episode for you. We're going to talk about law enforcement partnerships and collaborations throughout state agencies. As a law enforcement professional for over a decade, I truly value our partnerships with other law enforcement agencies. Tonight we have with us Director Mark Gwynn, who is the Director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. So, there are so many things that we do together in our partnerships between TDOC and TBI. Of course, I'm thinking about, Operation Blackout and the Sex Offender Registry, the Drug Interdiction Task Force that we have. Can you give me a little bit of information on what those law enforcement collaborations mean to you, and how do you see this relationship between TBI and TDOC?
Well, in the whole law enforcement venue, we've learned a long time ago that no one can do it by themselves. It takes a collaboration. So our partnership with TDOC goes back many, many years. I can tell you, I've been here 30 years now, and for the entire career that I've had at TBI, we've worked closely with TDOC. We always have at least one investigator with TDOC in our Agents Academy, getting the exact same training for 18 weeks that our special agents get. That's for a reason, because we want that partnership to be even stronger and for TDOC to know how we investigate, and in turn we know how TDOC investigates. Because once we have something like a prison escape or whatever it may be, it's too late to start building and forging partnerships. If they're not forged before that, we're all going to look bad. And there's no reason for that. It's just about communications. And the more we work together, the more we communicate, the better that relationship is going to be, and the better we serve the citizens of this great state.
That's awesome. When we think about public safety overall, people think about individual law enforcement agencies or the TBI or the FBI. But I think what makes us so strong is the collaboration, holding offenders accountable. And as you know, we have in community supervision over 78,000 offenders in our community, both probation, parole, and community corrections. And so I think about many times where we collaborate and how valuable that collaboration is. What do you see as some of the areas that maybe we can expand upon for collaboration in the community?
Well, law enforcement has turned into an intelligence-driven profession. The agencies that are on the cutting edge are on the cutting edge due to their collection and dissemination of intelligence. The Department of Corrections has always been a wealth of intelligence that I don't think the rest of the law enforcement community has ever tapped into. And I really want to do that. That's why I was so focused on getting the TONUS database into the Fusion Center here. It's just too much rich information that we need when we're investigating the myriad of crimes we investigate all across this state, not to be able to tap into that immediately. That's why it's so important to have a TDOC liaison sitting in the Fusion Center. It's just about that collection and dissemination of important intelligence. And TDOC has some of the most important intelligence in the whole law enforcement arena.
Absolutely. You have been in law enforcement for how long now?
32 years.
32 years. Can you give our viewers some tidbits on what a successful law enforcement career looks like, or some advice?
Well, I started out after graduating Middle Tennessee State University. I went back to my hometown and was a police officer there. And was there 2.5, 3 years, and then was selected to be a special agent with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and I've been here 30 years now. My career has kind of been in stages. I went from a uniformed local officer to a special agent, and then in 1996 I was promoted into senior management of TBI, and I've been in senior management now 20-something years. I'm often asked, what are the highlights of your career? And I can't answer that in one specific instance. It's not really being appointed director. Sure, that was a big part of it. But as you know, being a uniformed officer and protecting the citizens that you serve as a first responder, that's where it all starts. That's where the rubber meets the road. And it's very gratifying. I become a special agent, and I'm working some of the most heinous crimes in the state, a lot of murders, a lot of felony crimes. Giving those victims' family closure is very rewarding. And then stepping up into management where you can make decisions that affects every citizen in the state of Tennessee. In my positions as executive officer and assistant director of the forensic division, and then being appointed director, that's very rewarding. So there's no one highlight, but as I went through the stages, each stage was rewarding in a different type of way.
Absolutely, that's amazing. So your leadership track and what you do now is so influential in the state. And a lot of our officers, we have over 1,200 people in community supervision division, but 6,000 employees over TDOC. And so a lot of folks always tap me and say, hey, how do I get that leadership position? How do I get to the next level? What would be some advice for people who want to climb the ladder and aspire for the leadership positions?
Well, you have to understand what leadership is first and foremost. There's a difference in managing and there's a difference in leading. You've got to understand your agency. You've got to learn your agency. I tell people you have to be diverse. I can remember in 2001 when I was called into the director's office and he asked me to go over and be the assistant director of the forensic division. I didn't know the difference between a telescope and a microscope. But he asked me to go over there and lead. And that's what I did. So, and then when I went to interview with the governor to become the next director, all of his questions were about forensics. Now, would I have been sitting there had I not went over and become the assistant director of the forensic division? I couldn't have answered those questions. So you got to be willing to step out of your comfort zone, and you got to be able to step out and lead outside of your comfort zone. It would have been very easy for me to stay within the criminal investigation division and move up because I was very comfortable in that division. I'd been an agent, I'd worked all the violent crimes. But to step out and go over into forensics, it was a big leap of faith. But if you really want to make it, you've got to do that.
Awesome. So you had to give 3 points of advice for people to be successful in law enforcement overall. Something that couldn't be captured, maybe let's say on a resume. What are the 3 things that you would tell a person that they would need to have to be successful in a law enforcement career?
You have to understand that law enforcement has to be your passion. It can't just be a job. It's a sacrifice. And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, don't get into this profession. And I spoke to the graduating class of the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy last week. And what I told those men and women that are going to be out here and be on the front line is understand that badge. Understand the history of that badge. That badge has a very brilliant and bright history, but it also has a dark side to it. And if you're going to interact with the people that you're going to protect and serve, some of those interactions are not going to be too nice. But if you'll understand just for a second maybe why they're not nice, because when you put on that uniform and you put on that badge, you have to put on both sides. You have to put on the dark side, you have to put on the bright side. And you've got to understand that history. And that's what I think so many people that get into this business don't do. And instead of having a conversation with the people that may not like that badge, to get them to understand why you want to protect them, they push back and it becomes argumentative. And then we end up with the trust problems that we have with the citizens that we are here to protect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time and your viewpoints and your wisdom. Now y'all can see why I pick his brain so often. And just your wisdom and your leadership in state government. We value the partnership that we have with TBI, and we look forward to many things to come.
Right.
And, of course, in October we have Operation Blackout. which is a huge initiative, our biggest operation of the year, where we will go to all sex offenders' homes to make sure that they are compliant with the rules and regulations of community supervision. And we will go out and check actually on Halloween night and that week leading up to Operation Blackout. So this is our biggest initiative. We want to make sure that folks are safe, kids are safe at night. And so are y'all ready for TDOC? Because this is, we bring it every year.
We're ready. I
Okay.
promise you.
You
we're
sure?
ready. Absolutely.
All right, cool,
Absolutely.
cool. So I wanted to say thank you again
Sure.
for your time and inviting us to TBI headquarters. And we look forward to the partnership.
Look forward to it. Thank
All
you
right,
for having me.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.